Welcome to the Socks Gone podcast, where we unravel the secrets of exceptional customer service and show you how to knock your customers' socks off. Tune in, get inspired, and take your service to the next level. Socks Gone, where our socks are always knocked off.
Welcome to the first episode of the Socks Gone podcast, where our socks are always knocked off. Now, I have these socks here in honor of my special guest today. As you notice, these socks, I actually bought these in New Orleans at the airport on my way out, and I wanted to use these today for my special guest, Daniel Majure, who hails from Louisiana. So excited to have him here today. So again, yes, my guest, Daniel. He is actually the technology and data specialist here at Sock Knocker, and I could not think of a better first guest to have on this podcast. Daniel means a lot to me. He's a big part of what we do here at Sock Knocker. I call him a genius. I call him the call center whisperer. This guy knows it all. I tell you what, I don't care how elite your call center is. If Daniel hasn't touched it, then it ain't as good as it could be. So excited to have him here as my first guest. We're going to dive into how he got started in the trades, hear an amazing story of just standout service, how he knocked a customer socks off, as well as learn a little bit about some of Daniel's expertise and how he helps others in the industry here at Sock Knocker knock their customer socks off. That is our goal in everything we do. We want the customer socks missing. We do that with front end stuff, with customer service. We do it on the back end stuff with technology, data, software. So excited to dive into this today. So want to begin, just hear a little bit about Daniel's journey. So let's start at the beginning. Daniel, how did you get into the trades?
First and foremost, I'm always a fan of socks, so I do appreciate and look forward to my gift. Yeah, so we'll jump straight into it, man. I've actually been in the trades some form or fashion at this point for, gosh, I'm gonna date myself, almost almost 16 years, give or take. My story is a little bit different, as everybody's is that's gotten into this space. Out of college, a friend and I accidentally started an MSP. Not important information other than that one of our core customers back in the day was an HVAC shop. At the time, they weren't even triple trade. It was a three location HVAC customer, and we learned a lot trial by fire back then. And then just kind of through the years, my introduction into the trades has been through my customers, and so it's been a little bit of an interesting relationship that way.
Awesome, awesome. Was this something you always wanted to do, or did you stumble into it?
I
As
stumbled
far
into it
Yeah,
face first, didn't expect it, and kind of fell in love with the vertical, right? So, personally, I'm more of like a servant leadership service type person,
mhm,
and so there is no other place that exists like it does in the trades.
yeah,
It's one of those verticals that it's gotten a lot more credibility, or I guess credibility is a bad word, but it's gotten a lot more focus in recent years because of just the times that we're in.
yeah.
But overall, um, it's been a real. I'm a huge fan of the trades. I think that the people in the trades are unlike any other.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge stuffy corporate. That stuff kind of drives me a little bit crazy. Give me people that are actually doing stuff. By nature, I'm an action person, and so it's great because the trades are stuffed full of people who take action. They get stuff done. They get things finished. They're the ones that actually get work done. And so it's at least my opinion.
Yeah. So starting off, I appreciate you sharing that kind of your first introduction into the trades. Can you share a little bit how that might have shaped you into who you are today, as far as that first experience of kind of getting a taste of what this industry is about?
Yeah, I think the impact of working. I'm going to use HVAC as like my core trade reference, kind of
Mhm.
moving forward because it just helps me focus. But one of the core differences between HVAC and other verticals from somebody who's in technology's perspective, somebody who works in other spaces, like the pace of play is so different inside the trades, right? It's one of those things that is its own thing. When we talk about call centers, we know that it come May or April, whenever it is, but that first night where it's over 80 through the night, and that first morning when that call center opens up, it is rounds by live fire. And if you're not answering by that second, third ring, the customer's just going to hang up and call somebody else. That sense of urgency impacted me in such a huge way with how I deal with all of my customers, right?
Yeah.
I like to joke with people that almost all of my designs are based around like the first weekend in May, right? They're based upon
Yeah.
handling that capacity, handling that sense of urgency, and treating people that way. So I feel like interacting and dealing with HVAC in particular has made me a it makes me support my customers in a way that I wouldn't have otherwise. And so I think it's interesting. Once you look at the world through that lens, it you look at the world differently.
Yeah.
So
I love it. That's great. That's great. And just quickly, any challenges or obstacles when starting out? Like, what were some of the challenges and obstacles you had getting into the industry in the software and data space, and
yeah.
how'd you overcome them?
So I actually have kind of a side rant about that, man. Like, it is one of those things that um, external vendors to the HVAC space do not take the time to actually understand the space. I want
Hmm.
you to think about it, right? Like, they come to us and they offer solutions. We'll oversimplify this. Phone systems, for
Yeah.
example. Right, phone systems are one of them, but it could be fleet tracking. It could be whatever accounting software, whatever piece of software that we're using inside of the space that necessarily wasn't designed for the space. They come to us and they offer us a bill of goods, right?
Yeah.
And they say that this is how this should work. This is the way to do this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But they don't understand our space. They don't understand our workflows, and they don't understand our customer needs. And so, from my perspective, I I actually was one of those people who made that mistake.
Yeah.
I was one of those people who came in and was like, "Oh yeah, we can handle it this way," and oh, that's awesome. We can go in and we can handle things with this approach without understanding the nuanced workflows between CSRs and dispatch, or understanding the nuanced workflow between a plumbing business and an HVAC business. Those are totally different. Those are similar businesses, but they have different workflows. And so understanding those determine the lens at which you look through the software providers that you vet, the solutions that you come up with, and really being able to fine tune that for our space is one of those things that for me feels different because I've spent times in the trenches,
Yeah.
right? And so I always like to, I make, I have a dozen cheap trades analogies that a lot of people will, they are what they are, right, man?
Right.
So one of mine, I've got two, right? The best way to think of me when it comes to your business and recommendations I may make are, look, it's just my job to make sure we have the right tools on the truck. It's my job to make sure that we've got the Phillips and the flathead on the truck. It's not my job to go in and tell you how to use that Phillips and that flathead.
Mhm.
I'll make recommendations. Yeah, if you're going to do some work in a panel, you should probably use the insulated flathead for this type of work that you're trying to do. I'll make the recommendation, but ultimately, I'm not the one living with the system,
Mhm.
right? You guys are the ones that are living with the system. And in that regard, it's got to be tailored to you, your workflows, your organization, no matter what the size is. You've got to tweak that. These are modern software systems and applications. Think the big boys. Think Service Titan, for example. Do you ever feel like Service Titan is done with its configuration? Do you ever feel like it's perfect when you're building everything out? No, you don't. You're making tweaks next week, the month after. We're going to add this module. We're going to move this around. We're going to do it that way. These are living things, right?
Yes.
Like, these software systems are so big at this point. like they're so complex. You've got to treat them like you would a person who works in your business. I'm not gonna hire I'm not gonna hire a tech and then never get them any additional training. What
Yes.
that leaves me somewhere else completely, right? Why would I do that? Same thing with your systems. Why would I hire a tech and then think they're as good as they're ever gonna be, right?
Hmm.
There's always room for improvement. We just forget that when it comes to software systems. So the truck metaphor is one. This is my other one to kind of hammer home that point, specifically for my HVAC guys. It's a 3-ton, right? All
Hmm.
these software systems, they're cutting in a 3-ton unit, right? Inside, outside unit, we're slamming that bad boy in. But that you may sell only one brand, right? You may be end all be all. This is where I'm going to live. This is who I move.
Hmm.
You may sell a different, but regardless of even if you're making it that simple for your customer, are they all buying the same SEER? Right? Are you doing the same efficiency on those units? No, we're mixing that up a little bit. Moreover, where's the unit getting installed? Is it going in the crawl space? Is it going in a closet? Am I putting this in the attic? Can I read the line set? You may do a 3-ton cell, but it is still customized to that customer. I don't care how big your shop is, right? God forbid if I go to the nice side of town and I just install that 3-ton unit immediately in my customer's foyer. Right when you walk in the front door, you've got a unit. I know, so there's some HVAC guys who'd be like, hey, that's great. I love that. Right? It's gorgeous.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, that's how some of these external providers to the trades treat us when it comes to our software systems and solutions. They come in and they say, hey, here's your 3-ton. It's installed in the living room. And good luck with that. I'm out of here.
Hmm.
And that's not the way that we do business. So that's not the way that we should expect people to do business with us. And so it takes a little bit of experience, a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of understanding the nuance that goes into these systems to have the best implementation in your businesses, to have the best implementation um, for my customers, and my customers are ultimately the people who are doing the work in the trades. And so that those are my two main rants for you, man. And I think they're probably the backbone of how I look at the space and how I look at what we do.
Well, I can tell, and I know by working with you side by side how passionate you are about this, and that passion comes from solving people's problems, right? That they're facing in the technology, data, and software space. So awesome stuff. So I want to transition to one of my favorite parts of the show, and that is the knock their socks off story. So if you could just share a time when you went above and beyond for a customer, when you really knocked their socks off.
Man, I got a dozen for you, but I'm probably going to go with like the smallest, actually the smallest story I can think of. Actually, it happened just a couple weeks ago,
Okay.
right? I'm on site for a customer. I'm sitting in their call center reviewing their workflows, their actions, figuring out how some things work, how some things that they're saying may not work. And I'm talking with one of their CSRs. I have a very hands-on approach. So I want to come in, I want to understand your systems, I want to understand how your people are working. I don't want to just jump in and be like, oh, change these 7 KPIs and it'll change your business forever. No, man. I need to understand how we're getting to those KPIs. I understand how your people are getting stuff done. And this is about to sound really familiar to a lot of people, but it's so ingrained in who I am now. And it is what it is. It's part of it's part of a home services sales process, but it fixed something, right?
Yeah.
It has been, I've heard that over and over into tech meetings and stuff like that. And so it's so ingrained in who I am now. I was watching a CSR who clearly had 2 monitors on their desk, man. They had 2 monitors on their desk and they were only using one. I was like, oh, do you just like this one more? And they're like, no, we've been waiting on this part from IT to get this monitor fixed for 3 months. It
Mhm.
doesn't work. I was like, can I can I crawl under your desk for a second? Can I look at something real fast?
Mhm.
And it was if someone had taken the time to just look underneath the desk, they would realize they had everything they need. It just wasn't plugged in and configured properly. It took me maybe 30 seconds,
Mm.
right? This woman had been struggling. And if anybody's used Service Titan and a call platform or anything like that, you're dispatching, you need two monitors. That's just
Two
table
or three.
stakes. Two
Minimum.
at least 24 inches, typically 27 inches. That is what it is. And that's free info. Take it as you will. Your employees will thank you. And so, like, it was the smallest thing in the world, and it's biggest thing to this woman, right? It wasn't why I was there. It wasn't part of my job. It wasn't any of that stuff,
Mhm.
but it made an impact to her. And I've done. I I have dozens of small stories about just taking care of fixing something, right? Doing something small where it blows. And to me, those mean more, right? I've got big ones.
Sure.
I've gone in, I've done some billing analysis for companies and saved
Mhm.
them six figures a year, six
Right.
figures a month. I've seen some huge overspend and some waste in this vertical. I've seen salespeople come in and take advantage of companies, especially in their growth phase, and change stuff. And I've been like, whoa, 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 why are we doing this? What's the thought process behind this? Do we have a full conceptualization of what this is going to mean for the people in the business? Yeah, I have those stories, but to me, it's those small pieces that matter add up. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's those little
Oh.
it's those tiny socks, the baby socks.
Mhm.
It's knocking those off that feel like the big wins to me, because I know that made her day just better every day. And so
I
I
love it.
yeah.
And that's what I teach. It's
Mhm.
a lot of people think it's not always going the extra mile. Sometimes it's just an extra inch that does it. And I just shared a quick video the other day on, above and beyond is different for every person we interact with, right? So what's going to
Mhm.
knock one customer socks off, what worked for somebody might not work for the next customer. But like you said, that lady, that was her struggle. That's what she was going through. And you just taking that extra time to get that monitor fixed, that was an experience for her. She's like, wow, her
Yeah.
socks are gone. And it doesn't take a whole lot most of the time.
Mhm.
And that's what I try to get contractors, get customer service reps, get people in our industry to understand that sometimes it's just the little things, like you said. So I'm so glad that you use that word and you shared a story of making a difference in a CSR's life, and now can better perform for her location, her company. So awesome stuff there. Um, let's move on. Excited about this part as well. Just some tips and takeaways here and practical advice. So let's talk about how your services, and the services you provide here through Sock Knocker, and advice can help others knock their customer socks off. So, with what you provide through our company, Daniel, how do you believe that is helping our customers, our clients that we serve? How do your services help them knock their customer socks off in return?
Yeah, I think one of the things, one of the real things of value that we do
Mhm.
is we're able to translate a lot of what's been historical feel for some of these organizations. You look at HVAC. The industry's been around for a little while at this point. So if we talk about phone systems in particular, a lot of the way we interact in shops with the phone systems have just been repetitions of the way we did it originally.
Yeah.
And so I kind of referencing something earlier, I'm super fortunate that I had trials by fire when it came to call center build out.
Yeah.
And so what started off for me is being told, yeah, we need to make sure the phones are getting answered by by the second ring. We need to be answering that phone. Well, today we know it's not that feeling, it's that data. We know that our conversion rates on customers that are answered between 12 and 16 seconds are significantly higher than when we let them wait to 23 seconds. The reverse of that, if a customer calls in with an escalation, something's gone sideways. It happens. They need to have a warranty install done or something. No big deal, right? Replacements happen. And so the longer we take to answer that call, the more they can get wind in their sails, and the harder it is to kind of talk them down. So what the guys knew 30 years ago, which is the faster we answer, the better we do, we can turn around and put some data behind and say, cool, your conversion rates are X when you typically answer within this window, but you're actually at 28 seconds.
Mhm.
What's your competitor in your market look like? Well, your competitor is actually entering around the 21-second point. So if we can move you a delta of 10 seconds by maybe changing your introductory roll in to an IVR that says, thank you for calling, like that, if we
Yep.
can take that from thank you for calling to thank you for calling, and we
Mhm.
just cut a second and a half, give or take,
Yeah.
off of the roll in, that's something that we were able to do without even impacting your people and asking them to make changes.
Mhm.
And so I think that's one of the things that we do that kind of answers that question for you.
Yeah, I love it, and that's so true, and it makes such a difference in that customer's experience, right? Just waiting on that's a simple example, right? Just that how long it takes us to get to the phone, that is impacting, that experience. So, hey, if maybe they finally get, on the phone with the CSR, right? And the CSR is great, gives them a great experience, but it started with a negative one, right? So
Mm,
and that overall experience, again, our goal is to knock our customer socks off on every single call, right? So that was a great example, Daniel, of how my role in this company is coaching and CSR training and systems and processes, right? And getting, once they answer the phones, are we doing it right? Where
mhm.
Daniel's working on that stuff on the back end, right? What we just talked about. So, if I'm doing a great job of training my CSRs to have great customer service, but my phone systems aren't set up right and it's taking forever, not the CSR's fault, right? But just
Mhm.
how I have it set up, it's taken more than 30 seconds for our CSRs to get to that call. That's a problem, right?
Yeah.
The negative impact, or there's issues with the phone line, static, anything like that. So it's so important to think about both sides. And I feel like a lot of contractors are focusing on just the customer service training, but they're not really focusing on, hey, what's going on the backside of this with the technology software and our
Yeah.
data that we're tracking. So great example of how your services help customers knock socks off. And we're going to wrap this up here, but just what advice do you have for others in the home service industry who want to deliver next level service or the sock knocker service?
Mm. That's an interesting question because it's not one
It's
I
a loaded
think about.
question.
Well, yeah, but also I give unsolicited advice all the time. I can't help myself. And some of it is good. I think some of it's okay. And then some of it's just absolutely terrible. And so my father used to have a quote, a quote that he would say all the time: consider the source and let it be. And so, um, you know what? Fine. Let's go with that one.
Mhm,
Right.
mhm.
Um, my only advice I can give it today is consider the source and let it be,
Yeah,
right? If you're being told it, if you're being told to implement something and it's coming from a sales rep, consider your source.
yeah,
If you're being told that we need something and it's coming from your CSRs, consider the source. Like think about where the questions and the conversations are coming from internally, externally, in and around your organization. Um, and so I think that's a big piece of it, right?
absolutely.
But like I think what's interesting about some of the things that we do, Corey, and we've talked about this at length before, is we're pretty transparent on how how we're able to help our customers, and how we get paid for that and stuff like that. And I think that that's important. I wish more people were.
Yeah,
And I think that finding those sources is a big piece of it, because we know at the end of the day our customers are making money because, man, you're not going to go without air conditioning in the summer. You're not going to go without heating in the winter. You're not going to go without water in the shower, and you're not going to go without the lights being on, right?
yeah,
And so we understand that um, uh, um, a lot of our shops always have this constant demand that comes into them, and they're transparent about that process. They charge for their services, they do great work, and they transact for that. Why do we expect anything less from our vendors? So I know that was kind of a little bit of a tangent and rambling, but consider the source. That's my best advice for you
Yeah.
today.
I love it. I love it. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for being a part of this first episode on the Socks Gone podcast, where our socks are always knocked off. So, again, thank you, Daniel. Stay tuned. We got lots of great episodes coming up, lots of great guests. Really excited to be in this space and to provide as much value as possible to the industry. We'll see you all soon.
Socks gone, where our socks are always knocked off.